Are you ready to face your worst nightmare? Imagine playing a game of cricket and accidentally stepping into a house that was never meant to be entered. Five friends, John, Mike, Advard, Loki, and Ethan, were looking for a place to play their favorite sport, but their usual cricket field was miles away, and their parents refused to let them go that far. So, they did what any curious teenagers would do. They searched for something closer, and they found it. An old, abandoned house at the edge of town. It seemed perfect for their game. But little did they know, it was perfect for something else, something far darker. Loki was the first to speak up. Let's play here. What's the worst that could happen? Have you ever made a decision just to fit in, only to regret it later? They had no idea what awaited them. Their excitement masked the growing unease in the air. As they set up their game, the house behind them loomed like a silent predator, its decaying walls watching, waiting for them to make the wrong choice. But when Mike hit that powerful shot, things took a terrifying turn. The ball soared through the broken window and disappeared into the house. The boys froze. "We need to go get it," Loki urged, not missing a beat. "It'll be quick." Would you go into a house that everyone says is haunted just to get a cricket ball? The temptation of a quick game victory clouded their judgment, and despite their hesitation, they decided to enter. The door creaked open, releasing a thick, musty air. The silence inside was suffocating, heavy with the scent of decay. As they stepped inside, they couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. Every creak of the floorboards seemed to echo through the empty house. As they made their way up the stairs, the air grew colder. Their hearts raced. As they reached the room where the ball had gone, the room was dark, unnaturally dark, and there was no sign of the ball. "Where is it?" Ethan whispered, his voice trembling. Ever felt like something is wrong but couldn't put your finger on it? That's what they felt as the atmosphere grew thicker, colder. The house wasn't just abandoned, it was watching them. And then they heard it, a faint whisper. "Come closer." The voice was soft at first, as if carried by the wind, but it grew louder, more insistent. "We know you're here. What would you do now? Would you turn and run, or would you keep going?" The door slammed shut behind them, trapping them inside. Panic set in. They rushed to the door, but it wouldn't open. The house was alive, holding them captive, and it felt like it was closing in on them. The walls seemed to shift, the shadows growing darker, more suffocating. Then, from the corner of the room, something stirred. A figure. No, something was moving toward them. It was tall, distorted its eyes, glowing an unnatural red. The boys froze, paralyzed with fear. They couldn't move. "Is that Loki?" Mike whispered, but the figure that approached them wasn't their friend anymore. It was something far darker. Loki's face twisted into a grotesque, inhuman smile. His body contorted, his form taking on a nightmarish shape. It wasn't Loki anymore. It was a creature of the house, hungry for their souls. What would you do if you were trapped, unable to move, with no way out? The house seemed to come alive around them. The walls whispered their names, the air grew colder, and the floor beneath their feet began to crack. Loki, or whatever was left of him, reached out, his hands turning to claws. The others tried to scream, but their voices were stolen by the house. As Loki's twisted form came closer, the house let out a low growl, and the walls began to pulse. It felt like the very house was alive, breathing, waiting for them to surrender to its hunger. The boys tried to run, but their feet wouldn't move. And then everything went black. What happened to them? Did they escape? The house still stands, abandoned and decaying. But sometimes, if you walk by it at night, you might hear the faint sound of a cricket ball bouncing, and then the soft whisper of a voice. If you listen carefully, it might sound like the boys. But be warned, the house doesn't forget. Do you dare to go near? Like this video if you think you'd run, or subscribe to Incidents Revealing to hear more chilling stories of the haunted and the unknown. And if you've ever heard whispers in your walls, maybe it's time to leave. Drop your story in the comments. But remember, something might be listening.